I go to Mayid. This is Gemara in Kesubos Daf Sadi Tes. We really flipped over to Sadi Tes Amid Aleph yesterday, but let's pick it up from the bottom of Sadi Ches Amid Beis. Baruch Hashem seems the highlighting is back up and running. So let's just quickly review. They were middle of a shayla that the Gemara asked. Whoever's looking at their screens, you'll see that we highlighted about 20 lines up. Ibai Lahu, that what is the halacha? Asks the Gemara that if someone tells his shliach to buy for me a latach, and he went and he bought a kur, I made the same mistake yesterday, sell for me a latach, and then he went and he sold a full kur. Asks the Gemara, is this called Meisif al Devaravu? And therefore, the first letach that he sold is a good kinyan. The second letach, again, 2 letachs is 1 kur. The second letach is that which he violated the words of the mishalech, of the sender, of the owner, and that would not work. Or maybe he's transgressing the words of the mishalech, and even that first letach is not koine. So says the Gemara, let's pick it up about 8 lines from the bottom of Sadi Chazim and Beis. Tashema, the first line is Midatoi. Tashema is Kesubos Amana Umachar Shavamana V'Dinar B'Mana. We're quoting the din of the Mishnah. The Kesubos worth 100 and he sold 101 for 100. She sold 101 for 100, Machra Batal, what is the din? The sale is null and void. Says the Gemara, my love does have Shavamana V'Dinar B'Mana V'Dinar. Seemingly, what is the case? That she sold 101 for 101. Umay b'mana, and what did the Mishnah mean when the Mishnah said that she sold it for a mana 100? Mana shella. It meant that 1 mana she will keep. Umay afilu, and what does it mean? Even if she says that she's going to return, afilu it means even if she says she's going to return the dinner with a dinner of land. So says the Gemara, that's what we assume the case is. Vika tani machrabatel. So here we have a case in which one is transgressing the words of the mishalech. She is going and she is selling more than she's allowed to by selling 101 instead of 100. And we're seeing machra batel. We see the sale is null and void. Omar. So this is going to be a raya that when someone does more than he is supposed to, even the first half does not work, the entire sale is null and void. The case of the Mishnah is not that she told 101 for 100. The case of the Mishnah is that she sold 101. The case of the Mishnah is not that she sold 101 for 101. The case of the Mishnah is that she sold 101 for 100. And that is the reason why the sale is batal. It has nothing to do with our shayla of someone being meisiv al davar, of someone doing more than he was told to do. Continues the Gemara as we turn over to today's daf. Daf Sadi Tes Amid Aleph. But what do you mean? Asked the Gemara. We know that the Seifa, we know that the end of the Mishnah is dealing in a case where she did not undercharge. The Kesubos is 400 zuz. And she sells her first 3 lands for their face value of 100. The last land she sells for 101. Said the Mishnah on the Seifa, Shalachram Batal, Shalkula Machar Kaim. But the first one is good. So what do we see over here? We see already the din that if an almana goes and sells 101 for 100, the sale is batal. So why are you telling me that the previous case of the Mishnah is teaching the same din? It sounds like there's 2 cases telling me a woman who sells 101 for 100. Explains the Gemara, really, both the Reisha and the Seifa are talking about cases b'da'izol in which she undercharged. The Seifa kamashlan, and there's an additional chiddush in the Seifa, the taima da'izol b'diyasmi, that the Seifa is referring to that she made 4 different sales. 3 sales, she sold 100 for 100. The 4th sale, she sold 101 for 100. So only because in the last sale she is oizel b'diyasmi, she's undercharging, selling the property of the assignment, meaning she went too far. Avol b'dida. But let's say in the first three, if she would have overcharged, she would have undercut the sale. Machar kayim. If in the first three she sold 101 for 100, then it would have been okay. That's the chiddush of Seifa. So it's not shver to say that the Seifa and the Reisha both are telling me similar dinim, because the Seifa is teaching me this din, that it's specifically because the 100 overstepped their boundaries and cut into the fields of the Yisayim. Asks the Gemara, 1 second. We know that din already from the Reisha. The Kesubos is 200, and she sells 100 for 200. Or she sells 200. Excuse me, she sells 100 for 200 for 100. She already took her Kesuba. So we already see in the first part of the Mishnah that even though she's selling 200 for 100, the sale stands. Why? Because she's entitled to 200. So why would the Seifa have to reiterate that din that the first 300 feels is good, only the fourth is the problem? Explains the Gemara, the team I would have thought, in the Reisha of the Mishnah, she's completely removing this house entirely. But maybe in this case it's different, because since she's not fully collecting her entire ksuba, all she's taking in the first three sales is each sale she's taking a quarter of her ksuba. So maybe I would think that case would be different. In the Reisha, she had a $200 ksuba, and she sold her to either a $200 ksuba for 100 or a $100 ksuba for 200, meaning she's fully collecting the field. So since she's fully collecting the field, says the Gemara, maybe that's the reason why it works. But in the Seifa, the first $300 fields, she's not fully collecting her ksuba, because her ksuba is 400. So I would think maybe that would be a different case. Kamash Malon, that is the Chiddush. So the Gemara is concluding that there's going to be an additional Chiddush in the Seifa and the Reisha, even though they're teaching me a din, a similar din of B'da'izil, in which she is selling 101 for 100, and therefore the Gemara's pushing off the proof is accurate, and we don't have an answer to our original Shayla. Igdi Amri, says the Gemara, another lashon of learning that, just like we just said, according to Igdi Amri, according to the second lashon, says the Gemara, the following is obvious. If the sender says, sell me a letach, which is a half a core, and the person goes, the shliach goes and sells a full core, this lashon knows that's certainly adding on to the words. What's the shayla? In which the sender says to sell a full core, and then they went and sold half of the amount. What's the din? The shliach could say, it's something good for you. Because the shliach says, if I sell the whole field, and then eventually it comes out that you don't really need all the cash, there's no way you could back out. And therefore, the fact that I sold it 50% at a time is better for you. Because maybe all you're going to need is 50% of the money, and then you're going to be in a good place in the fact that only sold the first half of the field. Oy Dilmar, what's the other side of the coin, says the Gemara, Amar Lei. The sender can say, I don't want there to be so many shtaros. It looks like I'm having a fire sale at my old property, and therefore it doesn't look good for me, so I don't want that. So those are the two sides of the coin of the Shaila. So Amar Rav Chanina, and now on this Shaila says Rav Chanina Misura Tashaman Asli Dinner Shal Zav. If the sender gave a dinner shel zav, as we'll see, that's worth 6. A dinner shel zav. Va'amar loy havali chalik, go and buy for me a shirt. V'alech v'avaloi b'shaloish chalik. And the shliach went and for 3 selah bought a shirt. U'b'shaloish, and for 3 selah talis, bought a talis. And then we find out that this cash, this dinner, this 6 selah is hektish, Shnei malu. Both the sender and the shliach are mayel, both of them are committed mi'ila, utilizing hektish purpose for a not hektish reason. So it explains the Gemara. If you're going to tell me that the shliach is such a scenario is doing his shlichus, and he's just adding on. He was given 6 selah to spend on a shirt, and he went and he got a shirt for 3, so he used the other 3 for a talis. Mishamachi balabayis mal. Then I understand why both the shliach and the sender are mayal, as though both of them were equally accountable, culpable for the story. But if you're going to tell me that no, the shliach is transgressing his words. He was supposed to sell it for buy something for 6, and he bought 2 things for 3. Amai mal. So why is the shliach? Amai mal. Why is the balabais? Why is the sender transgressing ma'ilah? The shliach is not fulfilling his duties. Therefore, he's not acting on behalf of the balabais. So what do we see from over here? We see that the shliach must be adding on to the words of the sender. Says the Gemara, no a unique case that the shliach got a good deal, got a 6 selah shirt worth for 3, and that's the reason why everyone's considered to have been over me'ilah. Iachi asked the Gemara, why is the shliach ma'il? He didn't do anything. He just bought the shirt for the balabayis, the 6 selah shirt for 3 selah. Says the Gemara, atalis. The shliach is mayal on the talis for the second item he bought on his own volition. Yachi asked the Gemara, says in the sefer of Yudaim Rafazu balabais lemal. Even in this case, balabais is not mayal neishiyach leimer chol godli simavakish. The balabais, the sender, could say, "That's not what I wanted." When you realize that the shirt is cheaper than 6 selah, you know what I would have preferred? I still would have wanted a 6 selah shirt. Why? Because the 6 selah shirt, because the 6 selah shirt is worth 12 selah. And now you bought me this garbage 3 selah shirt. My because the sender could say, because if this was 6, certainly if this was 3, this 6 shirt would have been worth 12. The economy is precise. The Ketani we learned in a Brayz of Rav Yehuda Bikini Sheshnehem Malu. Rav Yehuda is Maida. Rav Yehuda and this, in the case of Kinias, everyone is Mail. As we turn over to Saditasam Ibis. Shakinis Vesela, Kinis Vipruta, that if they bought kidneys worth a sela and kidneys Vesela, Kinis Vipruta, Shma Mira Echidami. So it says the Gemara, what's the case? So if it's a place that they sell all these items by valuation, then of course, if you give more money, then they give you a better deal. So Amar Abba, the Kaili Bikina, no, they sell by a set value, by a set measurement of 1 kina at a time. And that's the reason why there was no loss that was really caused because you used the extra cash to buy the extra items. Says the Gemara Tashema. Let's try again. Darmale kini kina bipruta. Tashema. Kesubos arba mea zuzah machla zemana lachroni yafamana bedinner b'mana. Shalach roin batov shal kulam achrin gayom. This end of the Mishnah. A $400 ksuba that is sold $300 field at a time, and then the fourth field 101 for 100. Said the Mishnah. You know why? It's referring to small fields, and therefore that's the reason why the shliach has the right to sell them to different people, because since they're all in different entities, he could assume that there's no way to sell them all to once. Says the Gemara, Pshita. The following is obvious. If the sender says, I want you to buy 1 and not 2. I don't want you to buy 2 fields worth a half a core. I want you, and he says explicitly, I want you to buy 1 and not 2. Then of course, then he explained explicitly what he wants the shliach to do. The question is, what if the sender just says, I want you to buy me 1. Ravuna says that's what it means. No, the sender could go and could sell the field even to multiple people. They all came to Rav Nachman and they asked, What is the din? They asked over Rav Nachman, where the seller just said, Machar le'echad, he didn't stipulate. Amr lehu le'echad rafilu shnayim, it means you can sell to many people. Le'echad rafilu le'meya. Amru le'afagav de'tah shliach. Ask the Gemara 1 second. What about the fact that the shliach made a mistake? Answers the Gemara, Amr le'tah shliach lo kamina. That's not the case that we are generally referring to, because Amr le. I've married in another karkais. I don't understand what's the difference. There's no such thing as overcharging by karka. When the shliach gets messed up, he's not anymore exactly like the sender. Why not? Because cause the sender could tell the shliach, I sent you only to do good for me and not for my detriment. And we conclude today's share with the Gemara asking, how do we know there's any difference between the shliach and the Baal Bayis? We've seen. You tell your shliach, take off Truma, he takes off like the Baal Bayis. You mean, you dare that Baal Bayis, he know what the Baal Bayis usually would give. He gives a middle level. So we should give 1/50th, which is the medium, the wealthy give 1/40th, the poor give 1/60th. If we don't know, he should give 1/50th. Says the Gemara, if he gave a tenth more, a tenth less, piches Isara or Yahisav Asara, it's still a good Shuma. Vilu Gabi Bala Abayi tiny, that's by a regular person. What did it say? Bala Abayi is Tarav Alabi Ada Filu Achim Esim Chuma, Side Chuma. That if you had one of them, then only then it's a good Chuma. Tashema, Kesubos Armei, Zizu Marchel Zeman, Zeman Alachon Shaman, the dinner Bemana Shalacharim Batal, Shakula Machra Kayom. Amar Shish Beit Ravidi, Bekatini, that is the keys to the field. And Mirz Hashem, we'll pick it up from the Mishnah in the next year.